Hey guys, it's J.Anthony. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for your continued support and for watching. Today we got a special review for you. I promised that I'd be getting more watch reviews on the channel, and I try to be a man of my word. So here we have a Seiko Monster, as it's commonly known. This is part of the superior line of divers from Seiko. The model number on this piece is SRP307J1. And this being a J1 inverse of a K1 means this one was made in Japan. It was made for the Far East market and Middle East market, so the date wheel is also going to be Arabic and English versus traditional French, Spanish, and English. So we'll go ahead and get started. The reason I say this is a special piece is this is actually the watch that got me into Seikos. About 3 or 4 years ago, I met a colleague of mine. At the time I was still well into my Rolex phase, and he knew that I was really into dive watches and had admired my Submariner. And he bought one of these and brought it to show it to me one day. And at that point in time, I'd seen some of the old Seiko chronographs from the 70s. However, I'd never really looked at the rest of their line, and to me Seiko didn't really have any meaning to me. I didn't think much of them. I thought they were cheap watches you buy at a department store. But when he handed this watch to me for me to check it out, I was blown away by the quality of it. And the bug kind of bit me that day, and ever since I've started collecting Seikos, and it was only a matter of time before I picked one of these guys up. So if you're watching this video, more likely than not you're pretty familiar with Seikos and the Seiko Monster in general. This being the SRP model, this replaced the earlier SKX model, and there's a couple differentiators between those two. There's some knurling on the crown here, so it's easier to grip. The hour markers have more of like a tooth look to them. I know some people have called this thing the Vampire Monster because of that. But the biggest deal is actually the movement. So this guy, being part of the SRP line, uses Seiko's in-house 4R36 movement. And the 4R36 movement is the same movement that I showed you guys in my JDM Seiko review. Now, this guy has a solid case back, which I'll show you in a bit. So just to give you a sense of what the movement looks like, we'll look at it in my, my JDM Seiko here. Now, what's nice about the 4R36 movement is that unlike older Seikos, it's hacking, so as you can see you're able to stop the second hand, and it's also hand winding, so you're able to wind it as well. It's a 21,600 beat per hour movement. It's 24 joules, and again it's an in-house movement. This replaced the 7S26 movement. Just to give you some comparisons to some other common movements out there, Rolex's 3135 movement is higher beats per hour. It's 28,800. And it's 31 joules with about a 50-hour power reserve. The 4R36 in the Seikos is about a 40-plus hour reserve. They don't say quite how long. And an Omega with the 1120 in-house movement, well, it's not in-house, it's based on an ETA movement. That's going to get you 23 joules, and that's going to get you about a 44-hour power reserve with, again, about 28,800 beats per hour. So the Seikos with the 4R36 aren't going to have the same smooth sweep as a Rolex or an Omega, so you're going to get a little bit more of that ticking notion. But again, this movement has introduced the hacking feature and also the hand wind feature. So that's kind of the big deal on this version of the Monster versus the ones that preceded it. Hopefully all of you watching this are familiar with the Monster line. If not, this is the Seiko Diver. This is the entry-level Seiko Diver. You could think of this as a kind of a companion to Orient's Mako line. These watches are both rated 200 meters. They are at different price points, however the Monster does cost more and is, in my opinion, a superior watch. No pun intended, being it's a superior line watch. Capability-wise, this thing is as capable as any diver you'd find on the market today, any mainstream diver, that is. A Rolex Deep Sea, and there's a couple special ones, of course, exceeded. This watch has very similar specs to a Rolex Submariner, an Omega Seamaster, or any other kind of, or Citizen Pro Master, just any kind of general dive watch. It's rated at 200 meters or 660 feet, and as a traditional dive watch you do get the unidirectional dive bezel. So again, unidirectional, you can only turn it one way, so you can only add time, and this is a safety precaution so that you can keep track of your time underwater. All you do is set the marker to whatever time it is you've submerged, and as time goes on you'll keep track of how long you've been underwater. And as it's unidirectional, you can never decrease time, you can only add time. So you're never going to be underwater longer than you thought you were. And that's, again, a safety feature. Looking at the dial as well, I don't know if you're able to make it out in this video. This again is the J1 designation. So this model was made in Japan, and you'll see it says made in Japan here. The K1 series, which is the exact same watch, only made in Malaysia and Singapore, those will actually just say Japan movement down here or some other printing. They will not say made in Japan. Part of this being a J1 as well, my understanding is the bracelet is only 7.5. I only fit a 7.5-inch wrist versus the K1s have a slightly larger bracelet to fit larger markets, or markets where people tend to be larger. As a dive watch as well, it does have a screw down crown. This is for water tightness. So once you unscrew it, you can now, I don't know if you can hear this, you can wind the movement, which is something that's new for the Seikos with the 4R36 movements now, and actually the whole 4R family. The 7S series of watches were not winding and they were not hacking. And just to give you a sense of difference, this Orient Mako does not have either hacking or winding. So when you unscrew this crown, it just spins freely, and if you pull it all the way out, the second hand will keep ticking. So this is very similar to what you would have seen in an older Monster. And actually the Orient uses an in-house movement, but it's based on a Seiko 7000 series movement. So they actually kind of have a shared history on that front. So again, with the Monster, you pull the crown out, you can wind it. If you pull it out the second position, you'll see you can rotate the day of the week. You can also rotate the day of the month. So right now I'm changing the day of the month. And let me get it. So today is December 1st as I am shooting this. So let's get this thing through here. And if you rotate it the other way, you'll see that you can change the day of the week. This date wheel, being that it's a J1, has English, but then it also has Arabic. So that's what you're noticing there is Arabic as well. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And again, this is watertight, so when you want to screw it back in, you have to hold it down and then twist to get it back on the threads. So, really nice face. Again, the hour markers are a little different from previous Monsters. Kind of looking at the case itself. The case design itself is very similar to the previous Monster line. Again, that'd be the SKX series. It has the traditional Seiko back on it for the dive watches with the wave. Bracelet's traditional, it's got a safety, and then it's got a deployant. It's okay. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's pretty nice. It does actually have a diver's extension, which is right here. So if I can pop it out. For those of you not familiar, diver's extension is so you can elongate the bracelet so it'll still fit over a wetsuit. There we go. So now that I've opened that up, you have a little bit of extra length. So when you, again, you're getting a little bit extra length, so the watch will now fit over a wetsuit without a problem. The links themselves are push pin links. They're not screw out. At this price point, though, that's understandable. Speaking of price point, retail on these watches is in the $500 to $600 range typically. This is something where I live in the US, you cannot just go into any store and buy. Actually, they don't sell this watch at all in the US. I personally imported this watch from Singapore. And if you're looking for a new one of these guys, expect to pay in the $200 to $300 range for one of these guys. An older Seiko Superior, or an older Seiko SKX Monster, you can get one of those for a little bit less money. And again, you're not going to have the hacking or the hand winding movement. So again, there's the case back for you. Those of you that are fans of the Monster series know that one of the things that they're extremely famous for is their luminescence. So let me go ahead and shut the light off, maybe you can get a little sense of that. So again, this watch really hasn't been worn much yet, and I haven't had it exposed to a lot of direct sunlight, and you can already see how bright the lume markers are already. So it's on the second hand, the hour, the minute hand, and then all of the hour hands as well. Again, that's a pretty decent lume. I can't think of any watch that I've ever had previously that would have better lume than that. The watch is about 43 millimeters. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, so I'm going to give you a sense of what it looks like on the wrist here. There you go. And for sake of comparison, there's an Orient Mako. So that'll kind of give you a good sense. Again, it's a great watch, very high quality. It's got a very good weight to it. I'm very pleased with it, and anybody looking for a good dive watch, I'd highly recommend one of these guys. If you're looking for something around $100 range, I'd still recommend you go with an Orient Mako, but if you can spend a couple $100, this is all the dive watch you're ever going to need. Again, you're getting 200-meter water resistance, you're getting an in-house movement, it has hacking, it has hand winding, the build quality is exceptional. You're not going to find any more watch for this anywhere near the money, and watches costing $5,000 to $10,000 aren't going to offer you anything this watch doesn't offer you, apart from maybe some more brand prestige. So you owe it to yourself to take a look at this guy. Highly, highly recommend it. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be sure to add some extra videos about this versus the Orient, and then I also plan on doing a comparison with this watch to the Rolex Submariner. So stay tuned for that. As always, thank you all for your support. If you could please comment, rate, and subscribe. Any feedback you have is much appreciated. Any questions and concerns you want me to raise in future blog posts, much appreciated as well. So thank you all so much, and I'll leave you with this shot of the dial.